Thank you. Let me begin by thanking Marty and his team for hosting this important forum. I'm honored to participate in this discussion of our energy future at a time when the industry is undergoing great change. As an urban and regional planning grad from the University of Illinois, I'm especially pleased to participate in this dialogue in the context of empowering customers and improving cities. Illinois has a long history of innovation in the energy sector. In many ways, the modern public utility was born in Chicago. Illinois is home to some of the largest utilities in the nation. For decades, Illinois has led in the restructuring of competitive electricity generation. I saw Phil O'Connor, and I should give him a shout out at this point. We have one of the largest nuclear fleets in the world and are among the largest producers of wind generation in the country. Today, Illinois utilities are in the process of building out smart grids that will enable greater customer choice and efficiency. One of my goals as chairman and chief executive officer of the Illinois Commerce Commission is to continue this tradition by driving innovation among utilities so that Illinois can realize the greatest economic and environmental value from the evolution of the traditional utility model. With rapid changes in the traditional utility paradigm occurring globally and nationally, Illinois should embrace its historical role of energy innovator and leader by crafting solutions to minimize energy costs to our customers, maximize beneficial development of new technologies, reduce environmental externalities, improve the competitive electricity market, and enhance utilities' ability to ensure adequate, efficient, reliable, safe, least cost public utility services, which is our legal mandate. Evolving customer interest, more stringent environmental standards, and the steady advance of new technology are driving the transformation we're witnessing. And although this transformation is disruptive to the electricity sector, it's also revolutionizing how we think about, produce, and use power. These changes are also compelling regulators in Illinois and throughout the nation to address some of the most important issues the industry has faced in more than a century, while balancing the interests of consumers and utilities. Today's new dynamics of electricity supply, demand, and storage hold great promise for consumers and significant social benefits, all facilitated by the restructured markets and quickly developing smart grid here in Illinois. These new dynamics also present significant challenges and opportunities to utilities that will have to seamlessly integrate distributed energy resources and offer solutions that empower customers to make smarter energy choices, while also protecting the interests of the less advantaged. There's growing consensus that while the role of utilities has been relatively static since the turn of the 19th century, their job is going to dramatically change in years to come. This changing energy landscape also poses new challenges and opportunities for customers, suppliers, and regulators who must understand the expanding array of new options for making good choices, seek to enter new markets, and ensure that customers are treated fairly. Utilities will continue to have to provide energy securely, affordably, and sustainably. Importantly, processes designed to ensure customer protection must also evolve and adapt to this new, faster pace of change and continue providing effective safeguards while supporting rather than hindering innovation. What I'd like to talk about today is an approach being considered by the Illinois Commerce Commission to help make this happen, a stakeholder engagement process that will be focused on developing a shared base of information, facilitating engagement, and addressing critical issues facing the electricity industry in the coming decade and beyond. This initiative is being developed as a non-docketed, collaborative process that will conduct research, analyze Illinois' electric industry with the ultimate goal of reaching consensus on how to meet the evolving needs of customers and the utilities that serve them. The process would be consistent with Illinois' long history of leadership in the energy policy. Passage of the Electric Restructuring Law in 1997 opened the door to energy competition, customer choice, and innovation, and has resulted in tens of billions of dollars in savings for Illinois electric customers. As a result of this important reform, Illinois moved from being the highest priced state in 1997 to being among the lowest. Almost a decade and a half later, Illinois continued to lead with adoption of the 2011 Energy Infrastructure Modernization Act, which is also known as the Smart Grid Law, which is modernizing Illinois' grid infrastructure. Installation of smart meters will improve reliability, resiliency, and security, while also creating thousands of jobs. In addition to driving substantial investments to improve the reliability and operational efficiency of the grid, the legislation also authorized upgrading the grid with new digital communications and control technologies to enable customers to better manage energy consumption and costs through emerging technology and services. These developments in energy technology and services present an opportunity for Illinois to build upon a restructured market and smart grid deployment. There's increasing momentum across the country to address customer expectations for this new digital infrastructure and for the utility of the future. And regulators must be able to respond to challenges like aging infrastructure, volatile weather, and cyber and physical security. Regulators need to be forward-looking, just like the technologies that utilities are designing to enhance customer value and promote energy efficiency. It's essential that Illinois begin to think about how to develop these policies and continue its leadership in the industry. What this evolution calls for, and what is really needed right now, is more collaboration and a transparent planning process as we develop a regulatory framework that will serve the public interest and help the utility of the future fulfill its potential. Today, there are more questions than answers, and that's where the hard work will begin. For example, we must get a better understanding of emerging trends and forecasts for key areas driving change, such as DER growth, EV penetration, grid defection, forecasting load and future demand, changing load shapes, and the evolution of markets for energy products and services. Some of the biggest questions we need to answer, though, through this process include how customers are empowered to fully benefit from the utility of the future. Should the distribution utility be redefined as a network service provider to facilitate integration of DER and new technologies? What are the best ways to encourage innovation and investment, promote efficiency, and improve the environment? And finally, what changes will be required of the regulatory process? Again, these are just a few questions, and I'm sure our process will generate many, many more. What I can say with certainty is that a transformed energy landscape poses new challenges and opportunities for all of us. A clear definition of the regulatory scope and responsibilities is needed in this new paradigm to effectively facilitate the development and implementation of smart technologies and digital networks, as well as to address the changing function of public utilities. This is an exciting time to be part of the discussion and to play a role in shaping the future of this critical industry. Illinois has a long and successful history of collaborative efforts to respond to evolving regulatory issues, including restructuring of the electric industry and evaluating the smart grid. Our initiative would develop a shared base of information and provide a platform for discussion intended to build consensus on critical issues facing the electric industry in the coming decade. The ultimate goal would be to issue a report outlining the steps necessary to maximize the beneficial deployment of new technologies, minimize energy costs to customers, reduce environmental externalities, improve the competitive marketplace, and enhance utilities' ability to ensure reliable, efficient, and clean power in a manner that spurs innovation and investment. This stakeholder-driven, non-docketed process would produce a vision paper, conduct research, convene policy sessions and working groups, attempt to reach consensus, and then publish a final report analyzing Illinois' electric industry model and potential solutions to meet the evolving needs of both consumers and utilities. To kick off the process, the ICC would conduct a policy session to solicit stakeholder ideas about principles to guide the work of the initiative, and then choose a facilitator to lead the project. Taking into account shareholder input, the facilitator would draft a proposal for guiding principles, the specific questions to be addressed by the initiative, a timetable for the process, and expectations for content of the final report. The Commission would review, edit, and approve the facilitator's recommendations. A good example of such a collaborative stakeholder process is the Critical Consumer Issues Forum, which was formed in 2010 to bring together state regulators, consumer advocates, and industry representatives to tackle consumer-centric energy issues. Focused on topics relating to the evolving distribution system, the forum seeks to find consensus when possible, and at a minimum achieve a clear understanding of all perspectives and positions. The guiding principles established by the forum for planning, operational and transactional issues, and consumer and education protection are instructive and may provide a useful framework for Illinois to consider the utility of the future. According to these principles, the planning process should involve to reflect increased integration of new products and services and technologies into the distribution system, be strategic, transparent, and inclusive in protecting critical infrastructure and confidential data. Guiding principles for the transactional issues emphasize the importance of transparency and the need for enforcement processes to create equitable opportunities for new products, services, and technologies, avoiding market manipulation and resolving related complaints. Consumer education and protection-oriented principles reinforce the need to evaluate the costs, benefits, and risks of DER options and services with the goal of keeping customers informed so they can make good decisions. That means helping them understand how the distributed network works and how it's priced. Specifically, that means explaining consumer rights and responsibilities and establishing principles regarding ownership and security of customer data. Ultimately, any plan will be customer-focused and result in just and reasonable rates. Because technology is evolving quickly, there is urgency that the Commission begin a collaborative process as soon as possible to address these and a host of other issues. While a time frame for creating this engagement process has not been established, there is a real need, given the pace of change in this industry, and given that its transformation lays the groundwork for the utility of the future and smart city technologies. Mayor Emanuel's vision for a smart city is built on a commitment to modern infrastructure and technological innovation. A smart, flexible, reliable power grid built for the 21st century with an appropriate regulatory framework is essential to achieving that vision, and ultimately meeting the needs of not only Chicago, but the entire region. Among the most important issues from a municipal standpoint are grid resiliency and microgrids developed around essential infrastructure such as hospitals, public safety and public works facilities, and airports. But also interesting are rooftop and community solar deployment, EV charging stations, and smart streetlights and water meters. All of these smart devices can be networked, which create some intriguing possibilities. Smart streetlights, for example, can be outfitted with sensors to dim when they're not needed, reducing municipal energy costs. Planned versions of smart streetlights will have the ability to gather hundreds of data points in real time. They can also take advantage of mesh networks that are being created with the installation of smart meters. The same mesh networks could potentially be leveraged to enable smart water meters and other similar customer-enabling opportunities to achieve greater efficiencies. These sensors may also help manage traffic flow or detect environmental conditions to help the city manage the efficient deployment of municipal services. Sensors can also detect fires, floods, and other indicators related to public safety. In some, sensors have the capability to enable greater control over critical decisions and unlock the benefits of these systems to consumers, utilities, and governments. All of these smart devices generate enormous data streams, which will require equally massive data processing and analytics to fully leverage. In response to the rapid evolution of both the utility industry and technology, the ICC is already striving to adapt more quickly and embrace opportunities that come with being technology enablers versus perpetuating antiquated regulations that no longer make sense. For example, the Commission has started to look at ways to incentivize technology advancements in energy analytics and cloud computing arrangements, the technology that makes the smart grid smart, by remotely compiling and integrating data generated by these devices. Recently, we hosted a policy session to consider whether the regulatory treatment of such devices should be improved by leveling the playing field between cloud-based and on-premise software solutions. Our aim was to think about how to encourage utilities to adopt the cloud-based technologies that will be necessary to fully realize the value of the modern grid, allow the delivery of IT services to be secure, reliable, and at scale, and provide increased value to customers and the environment. Although this is just one subject that may fall within the purview of our initiative, it illustrates the real need for regulations to catch up with technological innovation. In closing, I want to underscore the importance that regulators and policymakers understand the issues at stake and create rules that support utilities in ways that deliver even greater value to consumers and shareholders alike. I believe that the collaborative stakeholder process envisioned by our initiative can be the catalyst for much-needed regulatory reform in Illinois. Marty, thank you again for the opportunity to participate, and thank you all for your attention. Thank you.